Hey there. I want to take this opportunity to get a little personal with you. I have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of developers go through this thing called imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is essentially just a mental hurdle. That's the way I'm going to say it. A mental hurdle that makes you think to yourself, I'm no good, I'm not as good as other people. What if someone discovers that I'm actually not as good as they should think that I am? Or it's really just a lot of doubt. And it's not something that you need to pay any attention to be completely honest. And here's why. If you're a junior developer, well, everyone started off as junior. Nobody started off as an expert. If you're an intermediate developer, that's usually where I see a lot more imposter syndrome come into play, is people who have had a little more experience with JavaScript or Python or Ruby or Go or PHP or whatever languages they're learning. And they think that other people are going to find out that they're not as good as they actually are. And senior devs, the ones that manage to stick around for a long period of time, tend to break through imposter syndrome. However, they don't all succeed, and a lot of them tend to bury it very, very deep. And they just sort of live with that soul-crushing thought in the back of their head that I'm actually not as good as what people think I can do. Like, I'm not as good as I should be. So no matter where you are in your development journey, you might not face imposter syndrome, but if you do, my advice to you is to shut it down. Just ignore it. There's not really any way that you can get around it except to really start believing in yourself. And the only way you can believe in yourself is to write more code. And the only way to get better at writing code is to write more mistakes. And the only reason that senior devs are senior devs is because we have written a lot more mistakes than you have. And to be completely honest, it's human nature. When you're learning something new, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And you have to, because humans only learn one way. And that's by making mistakes. Humanity, for as long as we've been around, it's always been trial and error. We try something, it doesn't work, oh shit, we go back, we fix it, we try again. And we make these small little increments till eventually one day we get really, really good at whatever it is we're doing. So whether you are a good developer or you are not a good developer, at this point in your career, if you're taking this course, you should not be concerned with that. What you should be concerned with is getting a lot more coding experience under your belt. Make mistakes, make them fast, don't take them personally, move on, iterate, get better, and that's all you can do. So whenever you have that thought in your mind that says, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, someone's going to discover that I'm not actually a developer, all I can say to you is this: ignore it. Try to ignore it. Don't take it personally. What I've seen a lot of developers do, and this has been quite helpful to them, is instead of letting that hold you back, they take new opportunities. So when a company or when an employer calls them back and says, hey, we got a job for you as a front-end JavaScript developer, but they're still junior, are they scared? Yeah, heck yeah, they are. They don't know what they don't know, and that is extremely scary, and to all humans, that's very scary. But they did the right thing by taking the opportunity, because as soon as you start working with other developers, as soon as you step foot in another circle of developers, whether you're employed with a company or not, you're expanding your reaches. You are expanding your skills. You're expanding everything you're learning. And you're going to start learning very, very fast. And that only increases how much you're worth. And that only increases how much you are worth. So I suppose what I'm really getting at here is imposter syndrome is a very common hurdle. That's what I called it earlier. It's a very common hurdle. And the developers who get through it, those are the ones who change the world. Those are the ones that work at Google, Facebook, Those are the ones who get employed. Those are the ones who, they have a lot of confidence. They know how to code. Those are also the same developers who are going to tell you that there's no way you can remember everything. You can't remember all of JavaScript, all of Python, all of PHP, raw Ajax, JSON, MySQL, Postgres databases, all of CSS, CSS3, HTML, frameworks like Django, Flask, Laravel, Symfony, Bootstrap, Foundation, UIKit. You just can't remember all of it. And that's okay. Because what a lot of developers, the good developers, the great developers, the intermediate to senior ones who have faced things like this, they will tell you straight up that being a great developer doesn't mean that you remember every little bit about programs. You understand higher concepts, and the smaller things you tend to forget over time, and that's fine. It's just like learning a language. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. But getting it back is as simple as hopping on Google and typing in JavaScript hoisting. Someone's talking about hoisting and you don't remember what that is, that's fine. Or JavaScript anonymous functions. Someone's talking about an anonymous function and you're like, oh, I don't remember what that is. You hop on the Google machine, you type in JavaScript anonymous functions, you take 30 seconds to refresh your brain about what they are, and all of a sudden you'll go, oh, I know what that is. And you're back to where you were. And here's the kicker, is to be a great developer is to not memorize everything. It's not to be an asshole to other developers. It's not to tell people they're wrong. It's not to even teach other developers how to write JavaScript. To be a great developer, I'm not even kidding you, is you need to know how to ask questions. You need to know when you're wrong, in which case when you're wrong, you go back and ask questions. And the third point is you have to know how to Google. Like that is the secret. I'm not even kidding you. If any developer says that they don't Google anything, I can tell you right now, they're lying and you want to stay away from them because they're a bad influence on you. Now, I'm not saying I don't know a lot about programming. I know a ton about programming. I've been at this for almost 20 years now. And I can do a lot of really cool things in a very short period of time. But does that mean I don't ever Google anything? No, of course not. Am I better at certain languages than other languages? Yeah, absolutely. Are there other developers out there that are better than me? Yeah, you bet your ass there are. There are developers out there that make me look like an absolute rookie. And that's okay. I'm very well-rounded in a lot of different languages, and the people who can outdo me are usually experts in one particular language, and that's fine. That's how life works. You would rather have a surgeon operate on you to, I don't know, remove your kidney or something, than to have just a general doctor look at you and take out your kidney, right? It's the same thing, same life concepts apply to programming. So whenever you're facing imposter syndrome, if you do, not everybody does, but if you do start facing imposter syndrome and you start thinking that you're not good enough, feel free to post in our Facebook group. Maybe just say that you're having a bad day or something. Maybe show off some work that you're doing and ask for some feedback. But don't ever let it hold you back. If you let it hold you back, you are letting yourself hold yourself back. And the honest truth about today's world is there are not enough great developers. There are a ton of bad developers. There are a ton of people out there who are good developers, but they're impossible to work with. And there are not enough great developers out there who, when they're wrong, can take a step back and say, oh, I'm wrong. How do I do this the right way? And, put their ego aside and actually learn from something. So in essence, to be a great developer, you don't need to know everything under the sun. You just need to know where to find the answers. And whenever you're having a bad day, just ignore the thoughts. Talk to someone about it. Being a developer sometimes gets a little bit lonely, and that's universal. That's universal. And you just want to make sure that you can get through it, because sometimes you're going to have really bad days, and other times you're going to have fantastic days. Sometimes it's an emotional roller coaster of code, and sometimes it's hard to balance that out. So you need to find that balance. So whether it's a support group like our Facebook group, or whether that's friends or a meetup in your city, or maybe that's just stepping away from your code for a day and just, letting your brain cool off. Whatever it is, find out what works best for you, and just keep on keeping on. So yeah, imposter syndrome. If you ever notice it lurking around in your mind, just pay no attention to it. Just keep on keeping on.